from these platforms. Like, there is no downside and only upside to see people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool never be allowed to publicly broadcast their opinions ever again. It's exclusively bad stuff that happens. So if somebody wants to be mean or an ass or whatever, I'm totally fine with that. But when people are supporting, the destruction of our world, like informationally, right? When we've all become epistemic nihilists and now anything can be true. I remember joking 2 or 3 years ago, or however long ago it was, with the wildfires in Hawaii. I think I said something like, nothing will ever happen again. Nothing can happen anymore. It's all a conspiracy. And it is now.
What's up, everyone? In this explosive video, Destiny's hypocrisy and wild takes on Trump supporters are put on full display. From his shocking comments about free speech to his bizarre conspiracies, this clip showcases the mental gymnastics the woke crowd will perform to justify their narrative. We will break it down, pointing out the blatant contradictions, biases, and sheer audacity. And trust me, by the end, you'll see why Destiny's argument falls apart under their own weight. Let's dive in and get into it.
Who do you think won the vice presidential debate?
Depends on how you define winning.
Well, how do you define winning? What do you care about in these debates?
I care about people that are adhering to the truth. But what I just said there means fucking nothing, because everybody wears that statement as a fucking aesthetic. So anything that I say like that should be the biggest red flag to never trust anything that somebody says. But I mean, whoever's like generally staying as fact-based as possible, I think is good. And whoever's making better arguments towards the other person to counter what they're saying, I think is good.
Who do you think had the better arguments? Who do you think was more convincing?
I would probably say Walls, because I tend to agree on that side more politically, but it's so hard to have like a meaningful policy debate when conservatives can just say anything they want. And now we're kind of like, we've escaped policy in the United States, and it's just this forever, war on culture issues. So
what's the most egregious sin that was committed in the debate, in your view? Something that someone said that you thought, that's just not true, or that's ridiculous, or that's super misleading?
Vance's refusal to accept the results of the 2020 election should immediately and permanently disqualify him from holding any office ever.
Funny how this disqualifies someone, but when Stacey Abrams or Hillary Clinton question election results, they are fighting for democracy. Selective outrage like this is why trust in politics is at an all-time low.
Yeah, he refused to directly answer the question. In fact, I watched the vice presidential debate recently, and I made a note every time I noticed a direct question not being directly answered.
Oh, Vance, I think, avoided almost everything, but he did it really well. He's a very good speaker. I think that he came out on top in terms of like public perception.
Right.
Absolutely. He's a very good politician, very good speaker. And he's a smart guy. He's smart because he was saying, a few years ago that Trump was Hitler. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah, it was a horrible administration. They didn't accomplish much. These are all Vance's words. Yeah.
If it's of interest to the viewer, I have the list here of the questions that were not directly answered. Do the candidates support a preemptive strike on Iran by Israel? No direct answer. Does Vance agree with Trump that climate change is a hoax? Was Waltz in China for the Tiananmen Square massacre? He did eventually answer the question, but had to be pressed.
By the way, this is an exciting clip. Be sure to leave your opinion down in the comments below. This is a place for discussion. Also, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Let's get back into it.
By the moderator. Would Vance support separating children from parents, from their parents in deportation efforts? Not directly answered. He did not say yes or no. He simply said, well, they're already being separated. There was no yes or no. Where will Vance specifically seize federal land to build houses? Where specifically? Again, just didn't get an answer despite being pressed by the moderators. And of course, did Trump lose the election? Vance just says something like, well, we had our problems with it, of course. You can go and look at what we said about that. Why is it so impossible to get a direct answer out of politicians?
I think that anytime you have a question in the real world about why people are doing what they're doing, this is a people skill, a psychology thing. One thing that I hate is when people say, oh my God, this person is so irrational. Like, this person's behavior doesn't make any sense. And usually they're pointing towards people that are behaving in ways that we would find disfavorable. We'd think, oh, what's going on with this person, right? Maybe you see a kid screaming in a store, for a candy bar, and he's screaming. It's like, oh my God, like, what is wrong with this kid, right? But eventually he gets the candy bar. And this is true of a lot of people with maladaptive behaviors, interpersonally or the workplace or, whatever. You look at a person, you think that they're being irrational, but they're not. They've learned this behavior, and there's usually a reward for this particular behavior. Sure.
After the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump, you got quite a lot of heat for a series of tweets that you put out, which had some choice words, not just for Trump, but also for Cory Comparatore,
This part is pretty sickening. Destiny's casual dismissal of violence coupled with his vile language highlights the moral decay in woke rhetoric. If roles were reversed, there would be calls for deplatforming, but I guess empathy is conditional.
Who was the firefighter that got killed by mistake by the shooter at the Trump rally. You were on Twitter almost immediately calling him fucking retarded. That is Corey, not Donald Trump, saying that you have zero sympathy for anybody who gets caught in a crosshair like that, and seeming to have no sort of ill feeling about the fact that a former president, somebody tried to assassinate them. I must say that when I saw those tweets, I was shocked. I was surprised. And a lot of people messaged me and said, is this the guy you had on your show? Like, you might want to think again before having him back on. And I'm sure that people who haven't watched this far have already commented down below, I can't believe you had this guy back on. I understand that you are angry about the state of the right wing in America. I understand that you really don't like Trump, and that's putting it far too lightly. But when you talk about how you don't like Twitter because it sort of is poisoning our political dialogue, do you not think you're contributing to it as well with this kind of behavior?
No, I don't think the dialogue is being poisoned because people are being mean, of which conservatives have been disgusting for years, which is why I don't give a fuck about anybody that winds up at any of these rallies and gets shot or whatever the fuck, okay? Because they had no...
This is outright disgusting rhetoric. Destiny justifies his hatred by claiming conservatives deserve it. Imagine the outrage if this sentiment was reversed, but because it's aimed at the right, it's okay. This is moral rot in plain sight.
problem making fun of Paul Pelosi. They have no problem making fun of anybody else that gets killed in some horrific event. A lot of conservatives were laughing along at a lot of my tweets when I was making fun of Palestinians during my last, year and a half talking about Israel. And some of them laughed when I made fun of Israelis as well. But all of a sudden, Corey is beyond reproach. Bullshit. I think that the issue that I have with X isn't people being mean. It's people that are just lying and contributing to a destruction of the discourse. I think that people can be mean. I think hate speech is fine, whatever you want to do there. But when you have people that are intentionally bad actors that are just destroying the discourse by just flooding it with incorrect stuff that they're not even trying to be correct about, the entire world would be better off if these people were permanently removed from these platforms. Like, there is no downside and only upside to see people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool never be allowed to publicly broadcast their opinions ever again.
So let me get this straight. Destiny is fine with silencing people he disagrees with, but if the roles were reversed, he'd be screaming about fascism? This is a typical woke double standard. He's advocating for authoritarian censorship while pretending he's the voice of reason. This is one of those times where Destiny just screams hypocrisy.
Exclusively bad stuff that happens. So if somebody wants to be mean or an ass or whatever, I'm totally fine with that. But when people are supporting, the destruction of our world, like informationally, right? When we've all become epistemic nihilists and now anything can be true. I remember joking 2 or 3 years ago, or however long ago it was, with the wildfires in Hawaii. I think I said something like, nothing will ever happen again. Nothing can happen anymore. It's all a conspiracy. And it is now, right? Like, I start a lot of my debates off with conservatives being like, do you believe in dinosaurs, by the way? A lot of them don't. They don't think dinosaurs are real. They think oil is naturally replenishing and big petroleum made dinosaurs up. The boat collision, I think in Ohio, was the Mossad that, rammed a boat in to take off the heat from Gaza. The train derailment in East Palestine was just leftists trying to poison the environment. Every single foreign affair is, Ukraine was started as a revolution by the CIA, and, there were bioweapon labs there, and COVID was a hoax, and the vaccine, like every single fucking thing. And now
here, Destiny mocks conspiracy theories, but here's the kicker. The left has their fair share of wild claims too. Remember when Russia was responsible for every political problem? Or when they claimed Hunter Biden's laptop was quote-unquote Russian disinformation? They always play this game of selective skepticism, and it gets quite annoying when they try to use it for their favor.
the hurricane is made by the government, I guess. Every single thing is not real, and it is destroying us. We have no unified front right now that we can present to the world, and we can't even do anything in our own country with ourselves.
There's so much to say in that. I mean, for a start, being mean, as you put it, which of course is different from, say, spreading disinformation or misinformation. Like, you're allowed to call someone a fucking retard if you want to. Do you think that this is constructive to the political conversation? I mean, even if you think you have a right to do it, and okay, the other side do it too, isn't the point to lead by example? I mean, if I were engaging in some of the atrocious political conduct that you observe on the right, as a left-winger, and then you called me out on it and said, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. And I said, well, hey, the right do it too. The point is that when the right do it, we say that it's a bad thing. And so to be sort of doing it in response seems, at the very least, not constructive, right?
The issue, again, and I will reiterate this, even though nobody will pay attention, not calling you out, but audience, whatever. I don't care about people being mean. People being mean is not the problem. The problem is the lying and the mis and disinformation. That's the big problem. When people want to say like, the issue is the problem right now is that in the United States, there exists two different standards, and you can't live in a world where both sides have to play by different standards. It doesn't work. For everybody that wants to jerk off evolutionary biology, we call these tit-for-tat systems in nature.
Destiny's argument collapses under the weight of his own contradiction. His disdain for free speech, selective outrage, and dehumanization for his opponents highlights just how unhinged and out of touch the woke ideology has become. If this is the best the left has to offer, it's no wonder people are turning them out. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts or opinions down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with a lot of the points made here. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.